Next we will create this figure. When you look at this figure, you can see that this figure is made up of 6 objects. We will keep each object in each layer so that you will get a chance to work with layers. The maximum dimension in this figure is 2.5. So let's set a limit accordingly. So I'll give limits command, and the lower left I'll give 0, 0 because there is no negative values, and the upper right I'll give 5, 5. Then I'll give a zoom all to bring the limits within the screen. We are going to apply concept of layers in this figure. You have 2 options to do that. You can create the entire figure first, then you can transfer individual objects to individual layers after creating the layers. The next option is you create a layer, then you keep that as a current layer, then you make an object in it, then you repeat the same for rest of the objects, which will take relatively more time. So what I'll do is I'll create this entire figure, then I'll transfer individual objects into individual layers. This figure can be created by first creating these construction lines, but let's see whether these construction lines can be eliminated. First of all, I'm just going to pan the screen in such a way that the origin will get shifted to a convenient location, and let this particular origin point represent this point. So now I'll go to circle command, take center radius option. The diameter of the inner circle is given as 0.75. When I'm asked to give the center point, I'll give 0, 0, and I'll go to diameter option, and the diameter is 0.75. That is my first circle. The outer circle has got a diameter of 1.5. So I'll make that circle. I'll go to circle center radius again. When I'm asked to give the center point, I'll give 0, 0. Now I'll go to diameter option, and the diameter is 1.5. So the second circle is created. Now I want the same circle to be created here. You don't have to create these 2 circles again, since it is nothing but a copy of what you have already created. So I'll go to copy command and select these objects. When I'm asked to select the base point, I'll choose the center, or you can give 0, 0. When you're asked to give the second point, you can define the second point in absolute coordinates. With respect to this origin, this point is at a distance of 1.5 units in the negative x direction, that is minus 1.5, and this point is at a distance of 2.5 units in the plus y direction. So I'll give minus 1.5, 2.5 as the coordinates. So that is the second point. So I've got a copy of it. Next I have to create this arc. This arc can be created using fillet or using the arc command. You will get more accurate results using the fillet. So I'll go to fillet, and the radius is given as 3.5. So I'll go to radius option, and I'll give it as 3.5. And the first object to fillet and second object to fillet, and you have got this arc. Next I should create this particular arc. For that, if you try filleting, you won't get accurate results. Let's try that. The radius of this arc is given as 6.5. So I'll go to fillet again, radius 6.5, and if you try to fillet it, you will get arc this way. So let's try another method. I'll go to TTR circle. We are already familiar with the tangent radius circle, using which you can draw a circle which is tangential to any 2 existing objects. The software will ask you to specify a point on the first tangent and specify another point on the second tangent. Now it will ask you for the radius, which is 6.5. Now you have got such a circle. In fact, it's a big circle. So what I'll do is I'll trim off the remaining portion of the circle. So I'll go to trim command. When I'm asked to select the cutting edges, I'll just give an enter. When I'm asked to select the object to trim, I'll pick on the big circle which I've drawn. Now I've got the desired result. Next we have to apply the concept of layers in this. For that, I'll go to layer panel and click on layer properties. Then I'll create 6 layers because I have 6 objects. I'll call it as C1 for circle 1, and again create C2, then C3, then C4, C5, and C6. Then for arc 1 and arc 2, I'll give A1 and A2 respectively. Okay, all together I have 6 layers. Then for each layer you can assign a color just to identify, give some random colors. Similarly, you can also assign line types. Now I close the layer palette, select the first circle and put it in C1. Next circle, put it in C2. Next one, C3. Next one, C4. Likewise, you can transfer individual objects to individual layers. So now you have applied the concept of layers after creating this figure. Now we will try some layer related shortcuts in this figure. Each of these shortcuts are available in the layer panel. Let's see the first one. It is off. And this option actually turns off the layer of the selected object. When you take the cursor onto any shortcut, you will get a tooltip. So from that, it will be very easy for you to understand the function of each shortcuts. Now when I click on this particular object, AutoCAD automatically turns off the layer of that object. And if you want to call that layer back, you can just click on this icon, which will turn on all the layers. And next option is to isolate a layer. The isolate option will let you retain the layer of the selected object and rest of the layers will be hidden. Let's try that. Now when I click on that and just give an enter, the layer of this particular object is retained and rest of the layers are in the off state. Unisolate option will let you call back all the layers. Next option is freeze. Freeze option will let you freeze the layer of any selected object. I'll click on this particular object and the layer of that object got frozen. The only condition is that layer should not be the current layer. This is thaw all layers, means you can call all the layers back. The next one is to lock the layer of the selected object. I'll click on this object and you can see that it has gone in the dim state, which is an indication that that layer is locked, and you will also see the lock icon appearing at the cursor. And this is used to unlock the layer of the selected object. The next one is make current option. Make current option will let you make the layer of the selected object the current layer. Presently the current layer is C1, but when you click on make current option, and if I click on this particular circle, you know that it is kept in a different layer. So the layer of this particular circle will become the current layer, so that whatever subsequent objects you draw will appear in this layer. Now I'll just undo this change. This option will let you match layer. Match layer option will let you change the layer of a selected object to match with a destination layer. I'll select this object. This object is kept in a particular layer. Now just give an enter and you select the layer of the destination object. When you select that and give an enter, you can see that this circle will go to the layer of the destination object, which is the layer of this arc. Next we will click on this arrow to expand this panel. I'll click on this pushpin icon to keep this panel in the open state. Now we have a pop-up list over here. When you click on manage layer states, you will get the layer state manager. We have already discussed about this interface in the last tutorial. This icon will let you go back to the previous state of layers. Suppose if I turn off a particular layer, for example, I'll click on off icon and turn off this layer. Now when I click on layer previous, I'll get that back, because layer previous option will take you back to the previous state of layers. Next option is change to current layer. This option will let you change the layer of any selected object into a current layer. The current layer is C1. Okay, how will you know the layer of an object? It's very easy. Just click on that object, or you can take the cursor onto this object. You will see the layer displayed there, or you can just click there. AutoCAD is showing the layer of the selected object as A1. Now I'll just escape to deselect. I'll automatically go back to the previous current layer. Now when you click on change to current layer option, and when you select this particular object, and this object which was originally existing in the layer A1 will get automatically transferred to C1. The next option is copy object to a new layer, which can be used to copy one or more object to another layer. So I'll just click on this icon and I'll select these two objects and just give an enter, and it will ask you for a destination layer, and I want to get a copy of these two circles into the layer of the arc. So just click on the destination layer and just give an enter. Now let's check that out. For that you have to go to isolate option and you can isolate this layer. Just give an enter. Now you can see that you took a copy of these two circles into the layer of the arc. I'll undo all this. Next we will see the layer walk option. This option can be used to see which object is kept in which layer. This option will be really useful when you deal with a number of objects in a drawing. And I'll just click on layer walk. It will show you the layer walk interface. When I click on a particular layer, the object which is kept in that layer will be displayed. When I click on another layer and that particular object is displayed, you can also tag more than one layers at a time by holding down the control key, and you can click on the desired layers. And this button, which is called restore on exit, when it is on, the previous state will be restored when you close this dialog box. But when you disable this button and when you close it, it will give you, and if you click on continue, the existing status is retained. So I want to see all layers, so I'll click on turn on all layers button over here. Now I'll go to layer walk once again. Now I'll click on the desired layers to be displayed. When you click on the restore on exit button and when you close it, the previous state will be restored. This VP freeze in all viewports we will discuss when we discuss the concept of viewports later. And this option can be used to merge selected layers into a target layer, removing the previous layers from the drawing. So I'll click on that. Now when you look at the number of layers, you can see that we have got all the layers we have created because each object is existing in each layer. Now what I'll do is I'll select these two objects. Okay, these are the object layers to merge. Then I'll just give an enter. Then it will ask you for a target layer. When you click on the target layer, these two objects will be taken to the target layer. That means these three objects are in the same layer and the layers of these two circles will get deleted automatically. Now the software is asking for the permission whether you want to delete it. When I click on yes, those layers will get deleted. Let's just check that out. Now you can see that two layers are deleted from this list. So the merge layer option can be effectively used to reduce the number of layers, especially when you deal with several layers. And this option is used to delete a layer, and we have already discussed the condition to delete a layer. If you want to delete a layer, that layer should be unreferenced. That means there should not be any object in that layer. And this is used to control the fading of the lock layer. You know that when you lock a layer, the objects in that layer will be shown faded. And that fading percentage you can control here. Now I'll reduce the fading percentage. Then if you lock a particular layer, now you can hardly make out the fact that it is locked. But when you increase the fading percentage, you can easily make out the layer which is locked. So that's the use of this particular slider. So that's all about the various shortcuts in the layer panel.